So my name is Victor Antonio, author, speaker, sales trainer. I've been doing sales training since 2008. I'm one of those guys that came out of corporate America, eventually wound up going into sales, left corporate America and decided to start my own business. So my podcast is called Sales Influence. I like to understand why people make certain buying decisions. My bottom line is, my subtitle is Finding the Why and How People Buy. In March of 2020, we all know what happened. The pandemic hit. Everything closed here in Georgia. And I, as a speaker, had all these engagements booked for the rest of the year. And sure enough, within a month, everything just started getting canceled, right? So one of the things I decided to do, because you got to figure something out, is to go virtual. And so I came up with this idea of doing a show called Sales After Dark. And Sales After Dark is pretty much what it states. It's I want to do sales training after dark virtually. Now, I did a couple of these events online, but it's one of those things where you think like you need something, right? I felt like I needed something to kind of kick off the show. And sometimes if you've done enough virtual live events, you know that you have to give people time to come in. And so one of the things I needed done was to kind of create an intro. I tried to do my own intro. It kind of didn't work out that way. When I talked to Chris Stone about this concept of maybe having a 5-minute intro, and he kind of looked at me like, okay, I think we can do this. Basically, I handed over a lot of footage to him, and he created this, what I call a piece of art. That 5-minute intro, the Sales After Dark, you have to see it. It's a beautiful piece of work, man. It's a beautiful piece of video. And what I like about working with Chris is that I didn't have to really tell him what to do. I think I told him what the outcome was, what I wanted, the feel I wanted, and then he just took over. That intro has allowed me to use it also in my speaking engagements. I've kind of, we've edited that up, and so we also use it before I start a speech. It's very powerful. The way Chris chopped it up was really interesting because he took some of my big stage stuff, right? That kind of gives you the high profile stuff, but he also took some of my workshop type of videos and kind of inserted that in there to kind of let small businesses know that, yes, I'm also available for them. So he was able to put that blend together for me, and it's a great investment. When I look at that video, it's like, even if I sat down and tried to spec that video for him, in other words, here's what I want, I couldn't have produced that. See, that's the power of working with Chris, is that if you give him the outcome of what you want, I think it just goes through whatever is happening in that brain of his. And what comes out is this creative mess that looks beautiful. So a couple of years ago, a company came to me, and I guess I can mention the name because it's a great company, Big Tin Can. And what they wanted me to do was to do, I have a podcast called Sales Influence. And they said, Victor, would you mind, doing something where you interview people and then we'd like to sponsor that? To which I said, sure. And you ever agree to something and then later on think about, well, how am I going to do that? Because I don't usually do any type of production. I can film myself, but I can't do, interview type of productions. And that's when I reached out to Chris. I said, Chris, here's the situation. Got a company who wants to sponsor these interviews on Sales Influence, and we're going to title it Sales Influencer. What can you do? Chris showed me a couple of his demos of stuff he had done in the past with other interview groups, or I guess individuals. And when I saw what he had done, I'm like, this is my guy to do this. He can do this. And so the Sales Influencer series has been one of the most popular series on my Sales Influence channel. And if you go in there and look at it, not only did Chris do a great job with the interview, here's the part that most people don't understand or know about Chris, is that he goes the extra mile. He did a lot of verticals for me. By that I mean stuff that I can put, little snippets that I can put on, let's say Instagram or all these different channels. I didn't ask him to do that. Now, I'm not going to guarantee that he does that for everybody, but I thought that was the coolest thing, that he said, you know what, I'm going to add a little flavor to this. Here are a couple of extra assets or collaterals that you can use online to really make you successful. Now, when you work with somebody like that, and they're trying to make you look good, and they're not even asking for anything, that's the type of person you want to work with. So I'm not type A. In other words, I don't like the micromanaged projects. I'm like, here's kind of what I want, go do it. And I literally told Chris, I said, look, I'm going to give you a lot of content. Here's the outcome I want, and here's kind of how I want you to get there. But other than that, you make every creative decision you want in terms of getting there. To me, that takes that load off of me. Here's my theory. Why do you hire somebody and then tell them what to do? Me, I'm thinking, no, here's the outcome I want. Here's kind of the impact I want with that video. You figure it out. I literally said to him, take all this content and give me some MTV shit. That's really what I said to him. And he says, what does that mean? He goes, make it cool, make it happening, make it today, make it modern, make it, viral if you can in any way. And that's exactly what he did. So what I love about him is that I can just give him general ideas or rules of what I want, and he can go ahead and execute. You don't have to give him a lot of instructions. Everybody today is busy. You're busy, I'm busy. I don't have time to really sit there and say, okay, here's what I need and do the whole recipe thing. When you're working with Chris, all you have to do is really give him the outcome. Like, tell him what you want, what you're going to use it for. How are you going to execute it? How are you going to use it on the social media platforms? I can tell that my intros feel different when I go on stage. When I put up Chris's 30-second intro before I take the stage, I've noticed that there's a shift in the audience. Like, who is this guy going on stage, as opposed to who's next? So I felt the different from a speaker standpoint, saying, okay, this gives it a different feel when you come on stage. In other words, instead of going on there cold, somebody reading a script, here's who he is, here's his bio, they see the video and they see the imagery that Chris has put together. That gives the audience almost a way of looking at me. It changes their perception of me, and that is very powerful. I can also tell you that in all the content I deliver to speakers bureaus, one of the first things they always comment is, I love your smart demo, or I love that intro to Sales After Dark. They point to that as a key reason why they said, let's do a follow-up call. Can I quantify what it's done for me? Not in terms of money, but I can tell you, I can quantify in terms of confidence that it's boosted mine when I get on stage, and that in and of itself is worth a lot of money.